Rise and shine, porcupines. You know what time it is. It's Algebra with Al time. I'm your host, Al Rosetti. Today, when you're done watching this video, you should be able to transform equations into slope-intercept. Okay, so the concept, the slope-intercept, the skill is being able to transform it. So what do you say we get started? Here we go. All right, so remember, given the slope and the y-intercept of an equation, all you have to do is substitute in the m for the slope and the b for the y-intercept. So number one, at this level, I'm sure you're able to do this without me really explaining it, but hey, let's go over it. So slope-intercept form. We should all know that that's y equals mx plus b. I know in my classroom what I do before I start anything like this, I say y equals, and I know that I have 2/3 of the class say mx plus b. They don't even know why they say it, but it's something that's pounded into them from 7th, 8th grade. So everybody should know that formula. The m is the slope and the y-intercept is the b. And all we need are those two things to be able to write the equation, and they're giving it to us. They're giving us the slope and the y-intercept. So y equals 3x plus -4, or y equals 3x minus 4. All right, number two, they want us to graph or write the equation of a perpendicular line to y equals 1/2 minus 1. Now what you have to know about this, what are the properties of slope between the two? Between a perpendicular line, between the two perpendicular lines, the property is the slope is the opposite reciprocal. So even though they don't give it to you here, they actually do, as long as you know how to interpret it. So the slope for this one would be 2, -2, right? -2, that's the opposite reciprocal. And so now we're given the slope. They give us the x-intercept at 4. So that's really the point, what? 4, 0. So even though they don't tell you 4, 0, they expect you to be able to make the connection. Since it's an intercept, it's 4, 0. Now you have what you need. You're going to substitute it into this point slope formula, which is y minus y equals m in parentheses x minus x, right? So let's go ahead and do that. So here we go. So the second y is 0 because the point is 4, 0, equals the slope, which is the opposite reciprocal, which is 2, -2, x minus 4. Now we do some simple math. We have y equals -2x, right? Plus 8. All we're going to do is distribute. We don't have to worry about the 0, obviously. Now here we have a slope of -2, and the y-intercept is positive 8. And if we drew those two lines together, they would be perpendicular, right? All right, number three. They want parallel now. So once again, even though they're not giving you the slope like they did on number one, they're giving you the information you need to know what the slope is. Slopes that are parallel, lines that are parallel, the properties of the slopes are the exact same, just different y-intercepts. So here we go. So even though they don't give me the slope, they want parallel, so I know that it's 2/3 because it's the same slope. Then they give me the 0.67, and I got y minus 7 equals 2/3, then x minus 6. And now we simplify. 2/3 x, remember that's 2 times 6 divided by 3, which is -4. We have the y minus 7, and all we have to do to get the final answer here is add 7 to both sides. So y equals 2/3 x, opposite signs, we're going to add, keep the sign of the bigger number, plus 3, that's right. All right, so there you go, slope-intercept form. Okay, now number 4, they want parallel again. So once again, they didn't tell us the slope, but we know how to interpret that as we're going to use the exact same slope, -1/4. The x-intercept at 4, that means it's 4, 0, right? That's the point they're giving us. So now we have what we need to substitute it in, as long as you can interpret what they've given you. They've given you everything you need to be able to do it. Okay, so y minus 0 equals -1/4 times x, right? Minus 4. So y equals, you have -1/4 x. 1 times 4 divided by 4 is 1. And since we're multiplying same signs, it's always going to be positive. Number 5. Now, another equation. They want it perpendicular to y equals negative 4x plus 1. Well, we know, because we can interpret that, they want us to use a slope that is the opposite reciprocal, right? Because that's the property of slopes for perpendicular lines. So, if it's negative 4, we're going to use what? Positive 1 over 4. That's our slope for a perpendicular line. Then they give us the point negative 8, negative 1. So now we have the information we need to write it out in the point slope formula, right? Y minus negative 1. Then we have equals, the slope we're using is a positive 1/4. That's the opposite reciprocal of negative 4. Parentheses, x minus negative 8. So what do you have to remember here? Really the big thing is, can you subtract negative 1 and understand you're going to make it positive? So we have to know our positive and negative integers, our addition and subtraction rules. So we got 1/4 x, and that ends up being a positive 8. 1 times 8 divided by 4 is 2. And all we have to do here in the end to get it in slope intercept form is subtract 1 from both sides. Y equals 1/4 x plus 1. That line, if we graph them both, would be perpendicular, meaning, the 90-degree angles. Okay? All right, 6. So they're giving us the slope here. So what's the big deal here? Well, they're telling us the x-intercept is at negative 10. So that shouldn't really be a big deal either. The x-intercept is at negative 10, 0. So we have our point, even though they don't give it to us, right? So all we have to do is substitute it into the point slope formula. We have y minus 0 equals 3/5 in parentheses, right? X minus a negative 10. Keep in mind your integer rules, that's going to be plus 10, right? And we're going to have 3 times 10 is 30, divided by 5 is 6. So y equals 3/5 x, right? Plus 6. Yeah. Okay, let's go on to number 9. Now, what they want you to do is write the equation given a graph. And we don't need to do all the slope and the x minus x and y minus, we don't need to do all that. Let's just draw our triangles and skip all that. So if I draw my slope triangle, over 2, right, up 6. So the slope is 6 over 2. It crosses over at negative 1 on the y-intercept. We simplify the 6 over 2. We got y equals 3x minus 1. Guess what? No calculating. If it's given to you in a graph, why wouldn't you do it that way? Why would you bother with all the math? All right, the next one. It's a straight line. It goes through negative 1. We know that that's y equals negative 1. It's got a slope of 0. Number 11. Okay, so what do we got? We draw a triangle. From that, we go down how many? And then over to the right, how many? So we went down 6 and over 2. Now the only thing we have to remember here, it does not come up. Now if you calculated the slope, it would, but since we're doing the triangle, we just have to know, and you're old enough to know this, if the line's going down from left to right, downhill, it's a negative slope. Do you really need to calculate that to come up with that? No, I think you guys can know that. All right, we're on 12. All right, so we got a slope of 3 that passes through 1, negative 3. This is all the same stuff. We're going to plug it into our point slope formula, right? So we're going to have y minus y, which is y minus negative 3, which would be a positive 3, equals, right, the slope 3 they give us. In parentheses, we're going to put x minus 1. Now we just have some simple 3rd or 4th grade math to simplify. This is not that challenging. All right, so we got 3x minus 3, subtract 3 from both sides, and keep it in mind your integer rules, adding same signs, keep the sign, you have y equals 3x minus 6. 13. A slope of negative 1 passes through 0, 0. Okay, so here we go. Now, here's the deal. So you got y equals negative 1 right? X. The intercept is 0. So what do? We put a dot at 0, right? We go down 1 and over 1. But the equation, which is y equals negative x. There's the answers to 15 and 16. I don't think I need to go through all that again. The same thing, it just keeps repeating. Here, the difference here is, now they want you to actually calculate the slope. Instead of giving you the graph where you draw the triangle, they do want you to use y minus y, x minus x, and calculate the slope. Once you calculate it, everything's the same, except for you can choose either point, whatever one you think is easier to do the math. So you get 2 points to choose from instead of 1. So looking at the first one, the slope we've got. What are we going to do? We got -2, right? That's y minus y. And then -1 minus -3. The only thing here that's important is don't let the signs throw you off. You're subtracting a -3, it's a +3. Okay? So what do we have? We have m is -3/2. Choose either point. I chose the -1, -2, but you could have chosen -3, 1, whatever you think is easiest for you. So what do? We subtract 2 from both sides, and we end up with what? Well, this is going to be a fraction, right? So hopefully that doesn't throw us off. But right now, right, it's just -3/2, right? Now let's add 2 to it. Subtract 2. So -3/2x, and what is 2, right? Plus 3/2, because that's basically what you're doing, except it's going to stay negative. So you got what? 1.5 plus 2, 3.5. Then what? You got 7/2. So that's the way you should be thinking about it. But I did all the math here so that you could see, because I know a lot of you just get caught up in, oh, I got to make it. Just think about it. 2 plus 3/2. 3/2 is 1.5. 2 plus 1.5 is 3.5. But anyway. All right, 17. Here we go. So we've given the 2 points again. We're going to use the slope formula. So we're going to have y minus y, -4, minus 8. And in the numerator, we're going to have -2, minus 1. Now, adding or subtracting, same signs, right? We're always going to add. That's -12 over -3, but guess what? This is division now. -12 over -3 is actually a division. And when you're dividing the same signs, it's always positive. So the answer is +4 here for the slope. All right. Then I chose the -2, 4. Doesn't matter which one you choose. And we got y plus 4 equals 4x plus 8. Subtract 4 from both sides, and you have y equals 4x, what, plus 2? If I remember, yeah. Subtract 4 from both sides, and y equals 4x plus 2. Now, 18 and 19, I'm just going to show you the answers. I don't think we need to keep repeating the same thing. All right, 20. I only did this one because it's perpendicular again. I don't really necessarily think we needed to do it. I think we beat perpendicular to death, but let's do it. So, perpendicular, that means it would be a +3 would be our slope that we're going to use. That's the opposite reciprocal of -1/3. Right? So then we have y minus -1 equals 3, x minus 3. Okay? Y plus 1, you got 3x minus 9. Subtract 1 from both sides. So a perpendicular line to y equals -1/3 x minus 4 is y equals 3x minus 10. Those lines would be, wherever they're drawn, it'd be 90 degrees. That's what perpendicular means. Okay. Well, that's all the time we have today. I appreciate you being here. And remember, rise and shine, porcupines, huh? Go out and do some math. All right.